Today I am so excited to have both of you, Kristen Harkness and John Davis, who are representing here today Spark MakerSpace. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
Spark,
Absolutely.
Oh, good, good. So thank you for coming in. And Spark MakerSpace, oh, you're so welcome. So thrilled that you can be here. Spark MakerSpace is a little bit of a tongue twister, isn't it?
Yeah,
Don't say it 3 times too fast. You might get in trouble. So Spark MakerSpace, that I've done it twice, is located in New London, right in the heart of New London, really, just down the hill from Gard Arts. And we've all been to the Gard Arts, and we love the Gard Arts Theater.
Right on State Street, yes.
200 State Street?
225.
225 State Street. And the Man Waring Building, which is a historic building as well, right?
Yes.
So let me ask you, Kristen, as the chair of the board, such a prestigious position for this 501c3, tell me about that. How did you get involved? What is the history?
So I am a nerd.
I love nerds. Beautiful. Great way to start.
Thank you. So when Spark first launched, they did a Kickstarter, and I backed the Kickstarter, and then I started going to the electronics meetups because there's a very active electronics group at Spark that meets on Thursday nights. And they taught me again how to solder, which was helpful because I had learned how to solder as a wee, youth, and hadn't done that for some decades. So they taught me how to solder, and I started really playing with Arduino. So that's how I got involved.
You started playing with what?
Arduino. It's a microcontroller. It's basically inexpensive. Well, I mean, I happen to have one right here. That is an Arduino.
Okay.
But anyway, it's basically a way to build small devices that measure temperature or run motors or do any, that's what my glove is, but we don't have to get into the weeds on that right at the moment. Anyway, so I started going to the electronics meetups and then, got more involved after that. So when we moved, because Spark was originally founded and in the first 2 years we were in the old LNG building and we built out a commercial kitchen. But what basically happened is the organization sort of divided in two, and the commercial kitchen portion of the program became RD86, which has some very delicious food. And the MakerSpace moved to our current location on State Street, 225 State Street, and that happened about 2 years ago this time of year. Yeah. So when we moved, that's when I became really involved in the organization, and then I think I've been the board chair for about a year.
Very good. Well, you've had some nice history with it. And what about you, John? How did you get involved?
Well, I had read about it for a year or two, as evidently it was formulating the first couple of years when it started being in the newspaper, the local paper. Caught my attention, my curiosity. Basically, it's what it sounded like to me. It was a workshop for adults with all sorts of departments, fiber arts and stained glass and woodworking and so on. And I definitely could tell there was a lot of good surface area, a lot of good working space, so I wouldn't be ruining a dining room table, if you know what I mean. So where I started was in the wood shop, working on kind of playing with old window frames, repurposing them, making them picture frames, and then that had just evolved to gifts with hooks and old pictures I had taken and so on and so forth. So that's how it started. And then it's really a beautiful community of people. It's very unusual how nice everybody is. It might be something to do that everybody's there kind of being happy and creative and kind of pursuing their interests in a fun way. So
I can see that. You're not going to talk about politics. You're not going to talk about the environment so much. You're going to talk about what you're doing, your dream for your creation, and your vision, and just being together and enjoying and supporting each other, I would imagine, as well, too.
Yeah, sharing the different things that we're making and admiring the things other people are making, and then figuring out how we can work together. One of the most fun things that we did recently was the electronics team said to the rest of the MakerSpace, bring in your art and we'll figure out how to light it up. Like if you have an idea of an art piece you want to incorporate light into, LEDs. And so artists brought in their work, and the electronics people worked with them to get LEDs incorporated. It was really a bunch of fun. And Ashby Carlisle has gone on to make additional pieces that now include LEDs.
Ashby Carlisle is one of your instructors?
She's one of our makers. She's an artist in this area, but she's also a member. She's a past board member at Spark. And
now I'm looking here at this beautiful, what would we call this? Poster?
Yeah, like a screen.
Screen, I love it. Okay, so it says make, create, and collaborate. Is that your mission?
That is our tagline, yes.
In a
nutshell.
In a nutshell.
Yes.
And then I see Woodshop, electronics, which we've talked about already. But then you also have fiber arts, stained glass, small metals, printmaking, audio-visual, and there's probably more.
Yeah, painting and drawing.
Painting and drawing. What kind of painting? What's the medium that's used for painting?
Well, every Friday night, people do it at different times of the week, of course, but on Friday night, there's, they call it, what is it, open drawing?
Oh, yeah.
Like open
Drawing night.
Drawing night. And it's, it's like about from 6 to 9 or something like that. I think they use different medium at different times, but oils, acrylics, watercolors, chalk, pencil drawing, all sorts of different medium.
People come with their own materials.
So they can. We have space for member storage. So if you need to bring in some of your own tools or some of your own materials, you can put them in a little cubby, and they're there for you. Many people bring in materials and donate them. Plus, we also have a lot of donations that we've received of like paper and fabric and yarn and et cetera, and wood and glass and things like that. So. So in many of the workstations, there are materials available for you to use, or there are materials available for you to use, and then the expectation is that eventually you replace. If you use a lot, then you replace what you used.
So as far as the tools, some of the tools, like with the woodworking, those are very specialized tools, and the electronics would be very specialized tools as well. And if you're going to do that, then I would imagine you keep them there and you would share them probably.
Yes, part of the beauty of the system is at Spark is that you don't have to go out and create your own workshop. So one is woodworking, but let's say you had some of those tools at home, but become interested in stained glass or any of these other things, you don't need to go out and re-equip a whole new workshop or small workshop, if you will. It's all there. So all these different departments not only have most of the equipment you need, but a lot of the supplies you need to do some of the basic activities, weaving, some woodworking, painting, and so on.
Those products are expensive, and
Yes.
So it's a good way, I would imagine, to explore, put your toe into the water, perhaps, and find out which art project or. It's not just art, it verges on science as well.
It absolutely does.
So art and science.
And we have a lot of 3D printing. This is a 3D printer that some of the people at Spark are working to start a company to create these printers that auto-eject. So the thing about 3D printing today is that with most 3D printers, you send your print to the printer. You might even have to walk up to the printer and connect your computer to it. You print one thing, and then you get out your little spatula and you pry it off, right? And then you print another thing. And if the thing you're trying to print is like 100 links of a chain that you're going to clip together, you have to come to the printer 100 times. So anyway, they're working on creating this printer that auto-ejects. So a lot of interesting things going on. And you can take 3D printing and modeling classes. You can know nothing about 3D printing, and you can come in and design a model or find a model on the internet that you want to print, and then you can print it.
So you're sparking, you're making, you're creating, and collaborating, so all of those things. But then you're also sparking ideas, and how about marketing? How about the idea of just taking it to the next level? For instance, if I wanted to come in and paint something, would you help me as far as trying to market it, if that was something I was interested in doing down the road?
I would say we don't particularly focus on that. people do it. So, for example, this company they started, it's called, I believe it's Auto Drop 3D. And they've come up with this clever idea. The rate limiting step, my understanding, in the 3D printer industry is how to remove the made objects you can get onto the next object to be made, if you will. And they realized, like, that's what's holding so many people up everywhere. So they've developed, if you will, this thing that sort of brushes the item off, the printed item off, so the printer's ready for the next item, and that's commercially what they're taking to market. So that group of three, I think two of the people might even be on our board currently, but there's three people that work on this all the time with other electronics people, and they have done things like gone to regional electronics fairs, maker fairs, competitions.
I would imagine some of these things are going to be patented if they haven't been already.
They have a
They
provisional
better.
patent on this, yes.
Do they?
They do.
Yeah, good.
Well, they should, because
yeah.
it's pretty unique. And
Yeah.
if that's on the cutting edge, no pun intended, of
Yeah,
the market,
yeah.
then we need to move forward so that
Yeah.
that can be properly
Yeah.
protected.
Yeah.
So the space has been in history for about 4 years through one spot or another, and you're a 501c3, and that means that you're a non-for-profit, and let's see, the hours. When are you open? We already talked about where you are. When are you available if I wanted to stop in and do a tour?
So our executive director is generally in the building from noon until 6 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday. If you're a member, the space is available to you from 6 a.m. until 10 p.m. 7 days a week. So when you're a member, you get a key fob. The front door, the back door open with the key fob, and you are welcome to come in and use the tools that you're certified for. So for instance, we do have this workshop, and the workshop has a bandsaw and a chop saw and a table saw and planer and jointer and things like that that are very dangerous, right? So you need, in order to be able to use those pieces of equipment, you have to go through the woodshop training and certification process to
Nice.
just to show the leads of the woodshop that you know what you're doing.
I like that. Safety goggles.
Oh,
and
safety goggles are required there at every entrance to the woodshop, and whether there's anyone in the woodshop or not, 100% safety goggles.
Nice. I like that.
So do we. It's simple that way, right? You're not making a judgment, you're just putting on the goggles.
Right.
So, and all the other workstations, each workstation's leads determine which of the tools in the workstation you need to be certified before you can use them. And, but once you have those certifications, you can come in, and if you just want to come in and use the internet, you want to come in, we have Adobe Creative Suite on a couple of the computers there. So which means, you know, Photoshop and all the different Adobe programs, you can come in if you want to do those. It's a great place if you are looking for a co-working spot, like you're a
And you don't want to work at
freelancer
home.
and you don't want to work at home
Yeah.
and you don't want to work at Starbucks. For $55 a month, you can work at Spark. And get to, you know, if you want to make t-shirts for your company, well, we've got people doing printmaking. And if you want to do a CNC routed sign for your business, you know, we've got a CNC router. And so a CNC router is does the two-dimensional carving like
wow.
that.
Oh, that's
So
really
you
nice.
do your design, and then you basically carve
I
it.
don't know if this is visible, probably. That's really nice.
Yeah. So it's there's lots and lots of possibility to connect with other people and to work together on things, and also just to have a lot of fun.
Well, it sounds like the old-fashioned bowling alley kind of thing, where people used to go to the bowling alley and bowl, and you'd hang out with your friends. And this is the same thing, where you're not bowling, but making things, creating things together with ideas and energy, and being together as a group. I think sometimes art can be lonely because you think of yourself in your studio, created by yourself, or woodworking, whatever it would be, kind of the isolated wood carver in the back of the shed. So.
Yeah, our executive director, Casey Moran, he's very good at speaking on behalf of what you're just talking about, which is the importance of this community, and that it be a space for adults to create, to experiment, but also to get to know each other, to become a community, to collaborate, to create new things together, to try and experiment and learn. He's very good at advocating that as opposed to it being a production line where something, a particular result is required at the end of the process or the session.
My husband and I like to go to Joseph Campbell or John C. Campbell Folk School down in North Carolina. It's on the North Carolina-Georgia border. And every year, not every year, we've been a few times. And whenever we come back, we're both all ignited with the idea of whatever it was that we created. I've done some art classes and he's done some woodworking classes. But the problem is we don't have the facility at home. And right now I've been taking some pastel painting classes. So my dining room is my studio, which
wait till he talks to you about it.
We have a big studio with lots of easels.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. We do a lot of community events. So this October we did Pumpkin Pandemonium at the Hygienic Art Park, where you could carve your own pumpkin. There was a big contest and lots of different pumpkins were carved. There were head-to-head 1.5 hour pumpkin carving contests where people put their name in a hat, and if your name was drawn, you had a half an hour to carve a pumpkin, and then the audience, by acclaim, chose the pumpkin. And that was a bunch of fun. It was a family-friendly event. Lots of kids came. Lots of pumpkins were carved. We had live music in the Hygienic Art Park, which is an amazing venue. We did a summer melt. We've done 2 of those, which is basically a family fun activity in the summer. And we did the goth prom. So for adults, if you want to get your goth on, you should have seen this guy in his goth outfit. He was awesome.
Really?
So you.
It was all about the mustache.
It was all about.
It was all about the mustache.
Your hair went from white to black.
To black, yeah. Who's that guy?
And so basically, we did it at the Social downtown New London this year on Halloween, and the place was packed, and we had many different DJs, and people got into. I mean, the costumes were amazing.
It was.
And so it's a lot of it. What we're about is the community.
That's perfect. I love that.
Yeah. Could I ask Kristen if there's time? Could you talk about that thing you did at the Marine Science?
Oh, the Marine Maker Fair?
Yeah, because that's like really.
So we're partnering with different organizations in the area. So for 2 years in a row, we've done a thing with Project Oceanology over in Groton at Avery Point, where what they want to do is they want to teach kids about how you might learn about the sound, right? And particularly by running these underwater ROVs, remotely operated vehicles, right, underwater to measure, say, the salinity or the current or whatever. And
water quality as well.
all those kinds of things.
Nice.
So it was a program where kids came for an entire day. Half of the day they'd be out on the boat, and the other half of the day they were in the lab with us learning how you might actually build one of those things. Like how do you actually program a sensor that can read the temperature of the water. And so what we did for each of them was we got them these kits, these Arduino kits, and with all sorts of really cool stuff. And this kit costs like $30. It's amazing. It's an amazing world we live in.
So you got a grant for this money to be able to create this program for Project O, so that you could supply the products for them?
Partially grant funded, and then the students also paid, and some of them, there were scholarships for kids that couldn't afford it. So it was a really good.
Was this like a summer or Saturday program?
It was. It was a day-long Saturday program.
Okay.
And so we spent like 3 hours, a bunch of the electronics folks from Spark basically taught these kids how to do Arduino. And so we used the computer lab at Project.
I'm not sure what Arduino is.
So it's this little microcontroller which you can attach sensors and LEDs and buzzers and things to. And so we did things like we had a waterproof sensor that when you dipped it in the hot water, the red LED would light up. And when you dipped it in the cold water, the blue LED would light up. And they would write the code to make that happen. So
that's really amazing. And I love it that science is coming to life for the kids, and that they would be so much more engaged and able to experience it firsthand. And tell me about this glove that you have here.
So this is, now what was your phrase that you said that Spark was, the adult?
playground.
The adult
I
playground.
love that.
And it is so true.
Tell
So
me, though, do you have to be an adult? Do you have to be 18 years old to be
You
a
do.
Spark member?
Yes.
And are there junior members or?
No, I would say for now, even though that's an evolving issue that we keep looking at, right now we're doing some programming at the New London Library.
That is really
So
nice.
that's a more traditional setting, if you will, for youth to have programming. One of our board members, in fact, works at the New London Library. So that's where right now we stage those
So those are your
activities.
outreach activities into the
Yes.
community
Yes.
with
yeah,
high school kids, with kids at the
Yes.
library. Okay, great.
with Project O. But at the moment, because we do have a fair number of essentially dangerous tools,
Exactly.
we are an 18+ organization.
I understand. I just want to find out how
Yeah.
you operate. Show
Yeah.
me this little thing, though.
Okay, so this was like, so I am not a musician, but this is my musical glove. So this
Does it
is
fit?
also, it does, yeah.
Put it on. Let's see.
Yeah. This is an Arduino. This is a different Arduino that has a form factor that allows you to sew it. And the circuits are made with thread that is conductive. So the thread is the wires. And this is the battery, which I'm
You
just
really
gonna.
are a nerd.
I am, aren't I?
And I say that in the utmost
Yeah.
respect.
You know, I almost wore my nerd shirt. I have a shirt that just says
on.
nerd. So when I've just turned it on, and the idea is that
Can you play us a song?
I can try. I can play you some notes. So the idea is
You
that
can go up and down the scale, maybe.
is that I have 8 notes on my fingers. So the power will come in through the thumb, and when I touch the snaps together, and it's hard to hear.
That's fun.
And then I don't know if you can see the lights lighting up, but the notes at the tip of my finger light up the LEDs at the top of the finger. And then the notes down here light up these LEDs.
I like that.
See
And-
what happens when adults play?
Well, and I'm thinking this has so many applications for people with either kids with autism or adults who have maybe some arthritis and need to have some
that's
exercise and
interesting.
mobility
That's interesting.
and stretching their fingers. And it's, you know, how much fun is it to do this? But if you have that, then that just takes
Yeah.
it up
Yeah.
a notch.
Yeah.
And so I did this a couple of years ago, but I was literally thinking about it as I was packing it to come over here today, and I was thinking to myself, well, you know, the next step is you add Bluetooth so that then you're sending, instead of using this ridiculously tiny speaker that's very hard to hear, you're actually sending the notes via Bluetooth over to some actual speaker. So I could be doing this.
While
and
you're
some-
waiting in traffic,
and
you can
some-
be entertaining yourself with a self-made song.
There you go.
Exactly. And
I know what you were thinking.
So anyway, it was just my official nerdiness. I'm a software engineer, and so this was my way of learning about hardware, because I didn't know anything about hardware, and everything I learned about electronics I learned in high school, which was some time ago.
And you have something else here that you wanted to show? It looks like it's a really nice glass piece.
Yes.
Is this out of the stained glass class? I hope I don't break it.
No, that's.
What is this?
So, Chris can give you the formal explanation, but it's a strip of
It's a
glass.
panel, yeah. I
A
think.
panel.
Does she call it a panel?
And probably our most popular classes, at least that's my understanding,
Stained glass?
is the stained glass department. There's sometimes even 2 different classes going on in a given week.
And for that, you can cut yourself. You need to wear some gloves,
Yeah.
maybe, or the.
You need to know what you're you know what you're doing, definitely. And so, the stained glass is incredibly active, and there are one-day workshops where you make a feather, and then this is a 2-day workshop where you make the panel, and then there are intermediate level ones to make those stars. And then once you have taken the class, if you join Spark, you have access to the workstation. You come in and work on whatever projects you want to.
That's
And then,
beautiful.
you take it from this panel or strip, and some people I've seen actually start working on a window insert, if you will, for a stained glass window and so on.
And John, you talked a little bit about recycling or upcycling. So if you have a material or something at home that perhaps is no longer useful.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
like a window pane or something like that.
Yeah, I think a certain amount of people do repurposing of different sorts, and it's kind of fun how people, what they imagine something that used to be can now be going forward. For me, I kind of do the tried and true. I like to go to a particular place in Mystic on Route 1 as you leave town that has a lot of old used stuff. It's a great place. And there I like buying old, interesting windows.
Love that.
You know, not just with, let's say, 4 panes, but, you know, all the variations. Some are all beat up and disgusting and chip paint and all that stuff and so on and so forth.
Well, you're helping not fill landfills. You're helping to make beautiful pieces of art that will be valued and used and maybe gifted.
True. That's not why I'm doing it, but true. Yes, yes. All of the above. It's fun. I get to use, like, put in my photographs and turn it into things like one of my first tries when I did this was about a year ago. The Hygienic has that art show where it's like anybody can submit something.
Salon des Indépendants?
That one. And I entered it, which didn't take anything, and hung it up, and it sold the next day.
Well, congratulations.
So it was, you know, it was sort of like a mirror with pictures, a fly fishing picture, and a bunch of hooks for coats. So I would imagine somebody wanted to use it maybe near a door for a coat rack, a mirror,
really
that type of
nice.
thing. Yeah. So I mean, that's what I have done, but.
That's very, I think,
But I mean,
self-satisfying and rewarding.
look what she did with her glove that she used to wear about 20 years ago.
Oh, you actually wore that glove.
Well, when she was,
Once upon a time.
when you were 12.
You know, it's funny because after I was done with it, I was like, you could have picked a better glove.
Oh, God.
Well, there's always next time. There's always next time. Okay, so we only have a couple of minutes left, so I want to be sure that everybody likes you on Facebook, goes to your
Yes,
Facebook page
yes.
and says they like you. Take a class. They're open to the public. Membership, it's $55 a month.
Or 30 for a working
Or
member.
30 for a working member, and I heard that you can buy membership as a gift. I'm thinking that would be a great thing.
Yeah, we have a sale going on right now for the month of December where you can buy membership months in 2020 for a new member at $30 a month.
That's just a bargain.
Yes.
It is.
So,
And the mess goes someplace else. It doesn't stay at the house. And
At your house?
Yes,
yes.
absolutely.
And how else can we support you? I know you're a nonprofit again.
Well,
so
being a nonprofit, we, like so many others, are in the midst through the end of this year of our annual campaign. So it's on the website. You click a particular button, donate, and it'll tell you more than you ever wanted to know about Spark and the possibilities and how you can support the organization. I would like to say, though, Saturdays is one of our best times for tours, for people to drop in. You don't need to be scheduled. You can. But Saturday afternoons is a great time to just come by. There's a lot of people there. The executive director is there doing tours. And it's another good way to learn about the organization.
Yes, particularly at 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock. But really, you can drop in any time. But Casey does tours at 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock on
1 o'clock
Saturdays.
and 4 o'clock. Well, I'll plan to be there, especially if it's a rainy day.
Good.
I look forward to
Good.
seeing you two there at that particular time.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, nice to
Thank
meet
you
you,
so
Kate.
much
Thank
for
you.
having
Thank you.
us.
This was really lovely. What a beautiful opportunity, and what a difference you're making, and what spark and joy and creations and collaboration, all the best things that life has to offer, I think.
Certainly.
Okay.
Definitely.